Hello, everybody. Happy Friday on this July 25th, 2025. I got all of your stories for your rush hour ride home. You made it to the weekend. Congratulations, folks. Boy, do we have a lot to get into. We'll jump off with Vanderpump news. We've got Sheena Sha's husband talking about his cheating. We've got Jax talking about his sobriety. We've got aliens. That's right. From the other planet, big heads. We got that for you. And then some Blake Lively news. I'm also going to be responding to a comment I received. It was unreasonably aggressive regarding Candace Owens. We'll get into that. And then talking more about the Donald Trump Epstein story, as he says he can pardon Ghislaine Maxwell. Well, we know he can. His audience can also decide to completely lose their mind and abandon him and his policies. And then we've got Paramount, their big deal going through, being sold amidst the chaos around Colbert's firing, the chaos around South Park's latest episode. A lot to get into. Lots of fun stuff. It all starts right now on The Rush. And don't forget, today is literally the only day I'll be promoting the Amazon teacher wish list. We do an appreciation wish list for all of our teachers out there. So you can click on the link that I've got in the description, and that's how you can submit to it if you're a teacher in our community. If your friend's cousin's a teacher, sorry, we love them. But if they're not in our community, they can't submit. We only want to help. We have enough mouths to feed within our community. So we'll be happy to promote that once we have our teachers. But today's the day. Go get that done. Oh, in other words, in other news, I have a new TikTok I've created. I have my normal TikTok, which has my stand-up comedy and a bunch of random stuff. But I've got a new TikTok just for the podcast, The Rush Hour with Dave Neal. If you prefer TikTok over Instagram, please go give it a follow as we try to continue to grow the channel. All right, let's dive into it. First things first, how about an alien story? Plenty of paranormal questions surrounding this video I'm about to share with you. It's a Ring camera footage of a crazy-looking bipedal humanoid-like character. Have a listen.
Plenty of paranormal questions after a mysterious figure was spotted near a home in Compton. Ring video from Jessica Ortiz's home camera caught someone or something walking by her home.
Now listen, I can't imagine what they said when they saw this footage, but my guess is it sounded something like, hell no. It's very squig, like it looks like a SpongeBob character or something. But again, there's something with a very large, goopy, sort of squid-like head walking around Compton.
She said this happened around 1 a.m. on June 5th. Jessica said her two other cameras didn't catch anything and her neighbors didn't notice anything either.
Nope. Let's go into Jax. Here's Jax breaking his silence on leaving the Valley.
I decided, as you guys know, myself, my team, the producers got together. We decided to, take a beat/break from season 3. This is not goodbye. This is kind of just a pause on things. The more I talked about it with everybody, it just didn't seem to make a lot of sense for me to walk right back into filming. And I just don't see a world where it makes complete sense for me to walk back into a dynamic like that.
I love it. From In the Mind of Jax Taylor. Listen, I've been one of those that has been so happy to talk about people overcoming their addictions. Jax Taylor has a lot of issues, some of which might have been exposed or inflamed by reality TV. But like Tom Sandoval or any of these other villain-like characters, these are real people. They're three-dimensional. They've caused a lot of pain for a lot of people. And a lot of folks will say, no, get him off my screen. I don't want to see him anymore. Again, just being honest with you guys, my audience, I like to see people overcome their demons and be the better version of themselves. Will that happen with Jax? We'll have to see. He's been sober, I believe, for a good bit now. And once that sobriety really kicks in, my guess is you can then unearth all of your other problems, right? Alcohol and other drugs, they'll mask the problem. And you'll go, oh, I'm just angry because I'm on alcohol. And it's like, no, you're angry because your dad didn't hug you enough growing up or whatever the case may be. Actually, we'll be discussing this on the other side of the episode, but I do want to promote this right here. I actually, and I'm not afraid to say it, watched the 3.5-hour interview of Hunter Biden. It is fascinating. He's been sober for 6 years. I got to tell you, sober Hunter Biden, he's a little bitter, but very fascinating to hear his story of sobriety and overcoming his darkest times. Again, I don't need to promote it. It has gone super viral at 2.6 million views. The idea that 2.6 million people would sit through a 3+ hour long interview just goes to show you how strong long form content is right now. But again, don't judge it if you didn't listen to it. And speaking of not judging things you didn't listen to, we'll get into the Candace Owens stuff in a minute because I didn't listen to the full documentary, but I'll share my reasons why. All right, so before we get into that, let's stick to Bravo. Sheena Sha's husband cheated on her early on in the relationship. She, is discussing it in her latest book. She sort of told on him. No one knew about it, and yet here is what he had to say.
Have to realize that your actions have betrayed the ones that you love,
Yeah.
So I apologize to you, my love. And for everybody else out there, you got to back off, to be honest. I feel like there's a lot of opinions that get thrown away. And if all we need to do is look in a mirror, okay? I'm a hypocrite. People are hypocrites sometimes. And I will fight for my wife till the end of the day. And so if anyone has a problem with this affair, they shouldn't be coming and attacking her. They should be coming to me. If we get into the nitty-gritty of it, me minimalizing it, it was exactly that. I minimized what it was. It was a sexual affair. There was no dating. There was no courting. It was just purely that meet up, and then we had sex. And it happened multiple times, and then over a 3-week span, and I felt horrible about it. And I was like, this is not okay. I'm not doing this. And I pulled the pin, and then I forgot about it. I compartmentalized it.
How funny is that? How funny! Like men were such boneheads, right? So for 3 weeks, he was just like, "Oh, I'm gonna go do this," and then finally, that dopamine rush of that new bang, right? I don't mean to minimize it. He said minimalize it. I don't mean to minimize it, but it's that new bang energy, right? It's like having a new dessert. I hate to relate it to the two, but that's what your dopamine says. Oh my gosh, have you tried Crumble? The cookie company, Crumble's amazing. And then you buy this 6-pack and then buy the 6th cookie. You're like, all right, I don't really know if I like Crumble anymore. I'm saying that to say you need to look past the physical desires and understand what's more sustainable. You can't eat Crumble cookies all day long. Maybe one day you could, but not for the rest of your life. You need a healthy diet. A marriage provides that healthy diet. Does any of this make sense? I don't know.
Protecting myself, I was an absolute coward. That man was a coward, and he wasn't thinking about protecting you. He was just thinking about protecting himself, saving his face. Going back to what I was doing, I would just minimize my actions and compartmentalize it, put it in a box. But in this situation, I wrote it in a letter and then tried to forget about it. And I believe that I was never going to do it again, and we could just move past this. And I was just saving face, I think, at the end of the day. And that was not, it was selfish. It was...
I don't know if there's more to the story about how she found out. Did he snitch on himself? Now, cheating like this, I have to imagine it's hard to recover within that relationship. In most cases, it ends the relationship. Then you learn your lessons and you apply it to the next relationship. But I have to say, kind of big for Sheena to take him back after it. Although I guess she didn't find out for a while. So in some sense, she was kind of already stuck with him. They had a kid and all of this. I'll tell you this, whether it's Jax or Brock, I look forward to seeing them overcoming their demons. Let's leave it at that. Speaking of overcoming your demons, boy, this might be the most eclectic episode I've ever recorded. I absolutely love what we have today. Here is Savannah Bananas baseball player Robert Anthony Cruz trying to do a backflip on live TV on CNN. Doesn't go to plan. Turn your audio up for this one.
Oh, Jesus.
And right there, that is a face plant on live TV if you're listening to the audio only.
That never happens.
And then he goes, that never happens. And then this is the funny part. Everyone's stuck on their teleprompters. CNN doesn't know how to respond, so they just read, they just go to the next segment.
That, what you just saw there, is a brand new twist on America's favorite pastime.
So anyway, Savannah Bananas have become so successful. They went from performing in front of tens of people to selling out football stadiums. It's like Harlem Globetrotters meets baseball. Very high quality. Lots of great baseball players. I mean, listen, I'm 40 years old. I still play in a men's baseball league. Maybe I could go pitch an inning. Either way, here is the guy named Coach Rack, I think is the name he goes by.
They say
and here's what he had to say regarding doing the backflip on live TV. You can tell it's the same guy because he has a massive busted lip.
Press is good press, huh? Well, you've probably seen the video. Your boy is bouncing around the internet like a beach ball at a Nickelback concert. No offense, Nickelback. I love your stuff. Anyways, this morning I'm going to CNN, right? Keep in mind, I'm running on 4 hours of sleep. I spent the last couple days running a baseball camp for kids. It was amazing. There were 500 kids in Houston. The second the camp ended, I showered, hopped on a flight, got into New York at like 2 a.m. So we're backstage and they asked me, hey, like, you got any tricks up your sleeve that you want to do while we're live on the show? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I got lots of tricks up my sleeves. I'll do a backflip live. We'll go about our conversation. Call it a day. For those of you that don't know me, this is me. I do flips all the time while catching a ball, mind you. I didn't even have to catch a ball with this flip. Also, just like a couple months ago, I was at ESPN's headquarters and on NFL Live, I caught a football on live television while doing a backflip. I have done tens of thousands of backflips in my life. I had zero reason to doubt my abilities. Anyways, I'm standing on the stage. I get the countdown. I'm like, okay, it's time. I send the flip. Next thing I know, I am on the floor and I'm rattled. I was pretty confused. My mic pack fell out of my pocket. My shoe flew off of my foot. I don't even know how that happened. I feel bad for the news anchors because they just sat there like, okay, we're not supposed to laugh, but oh my gosh, that was funny. And they just had to carry on. So I'm so sorry, you guys. But yeah, then I got up. I felt fine. So then I was like, okay, I maybe go about my interview. But then I see the blood dripping down from my chin and my lips. I'm like, okay, never mind. This day's probably canned. They told me to go have a seat off to the side. So I sat down. We cleaned up the blood a little bit. But I had all these feelings of, one, obviously I'm embarrassed. Live television just wiped out. Two, I was like, how did that even happen? And in hindsight, when you do a flip, you are looking for the ground while you're rotating. So I remember jumping back and seeing a bright light in my face, and the floor itself was very light. I kind of just lost where I was in the air and wound up under rotating, plus my feet slipped. Also, I gotta say, my arms flailing. I have no idea why it was like that. A bunch of people thought it was AI. Fortunately enough, there was a doctor in that building. So I got checked out. I ended up getting several stitches here in my lip.
Jeez. I mean, and this is what I love about Savannah Bananas. Even when they mess up, they go viral. They are a viral machine. So here he is making light of a tough situation. Good on him for being able to laugh at himself right there. Okay, I got a sad story, to share, a sad update, real frustrating. Covered this a few days ago. There was a man in Florida who refused to get out of his car because he didn't know why he was being pulled over. Young black man, 22, I believe. The cops punched the window in, then punched him, sucker punched him, and he still didn't fight back. Then they ripped him out of the car and continued to punch him. It is so troubling, some of the comments that come in that say, well, he should have obeyed the cops, right? We live in a world where you should obey the cops, but if you don't, in a situation that's nonviolent like this and very non-threatening, you should not worry about whether or not the cops are going to punch you in the face. Well, I still think he's got a chance at a multi-million-dollar lawsuit, although I will say this, they've done an investigation, believe it or not, and the cops have been cleared of all charges. This is a disgusting lack of resolution to police brutality, plain and simple.
An investigation by the Florida State Attorney's Office determined yesterday that the officers involved did not violate any criminal laws.
That's it. Unbelievable. And again, if you watch the footage that we've already shared previously, it is just, there's no way to look at this and think that they didn't cross the line by punching him, by ripping him out of the car, continuing to punch him, have their they could have killed this man. They could have absolutely killed this man. It was almost comical in the saddest way to see this play out because this was a guy, they pulled him over because his headlights weren't on. Of course, it's just absolutely ridiculous. I hope he gets a lot of money out of this, and yet it's so frustrating that money still comes from taxpayers. It should come from the cops that cross the line. These absolute losers that give all cops a bad name. They do. They give cops a bad name when other cops don't denounce this absolute, just ridiculous behavior. All right, I wanted to share an update I've been covering the Candace Owens story. I want to keep this update quick. I've basically said I'm not going to watch her documentary because I don't want to. I just don't want to. I don't want to watch a documentary about exposing whether someone is trans, a transvestigation they call it, whether or not she groomed Emmanuel Macron, Bridget Macron, older, 39, when she's, all of this. I don't want to cover it. I don't. But what I did say is I will cover the court case that is Bridget Macron suing Candace Owens for defamation. Now, I do have an audience that found me from my Blake Lively content. Some of those audience are Candace Owens fans, so I'm not surprised to get comments like this. Dave, I'm extremely disappointed in your lack of due diligence when it comes to Candace Owens and the Macrons. If you're going to speak on it, then you need to watch the series. If you don't watch the series, you lose your integrity and you will lose viewers. Now, multiple things are happening right here. A, I don't like being told what to do. B, I hate it when strangers tell me they're disappointed in me. You're not my wife or father. And C, telling me I'll lose viewers is basically saying, I'm going to cancel you if you don't do what I want. That's not how my channel works. That's not what my audience likes. My audience likes a guy who's willing to crack an egg to make an omelet. My audience likes a guy who wants to tell you my opinions on things and sort of curate my thoughts on pop culture, politics, entertainment, and everything in between. And anyway, they then say, a lot of us came to you because you were balanced when it came to Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. And then I said, not going to watch it. We'll cover the trial. Thanks for the support, though. Appreciate you. I like to, and by the way, I don't owe anyone a response on DMs. I'm just bringing this to you because it's kind of funny. I say, thank you for the support. I appreciate you. Even if you disagree with me, much appreciation. I even said, I'll give you a longer reply on the afternoon rush. She responds, I won't be watching, and then she unfollowed me. So again, not everybody's reasonable, but my thoughts, I don't want to be redundant. My thoughts on the Candace Owens situation are this. I don't give two flying fucks about Bridget Macron. I don't. The first lady of the French president means nothing to me. If it's true that she was born a man, we'll find out in this defamation lawsuit. I still don't care if she was. I don't understand. As far as I know, Emmanuel Macron is an adult. He's the president of France, and he can do with this information what he wants. He's a big boy. If Bridget Macron was running a pedophile ring or a grooming ring where she's doing this to other people and we can stop this in the moment, that's a different story. But if she groomed a guy 30 years ago and they're now married, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that information other than respond to people that say, Dave, you have to watch the documentary. No, I don't. No, I don't. So we'll move it on from there. Blake Lively in the news. Moving on to Blake Lively, my reasonable coverage. And again, like I said, you got to crack an egg to make an omelet. Not trying to be rude or mean, just saying, I don't understand how this is something I want to deal with. We've all got our boundaries we need to set, and people can go to somebody else to find that content. Absolutely. Blake Lively attacks mostly female content creators with Trump-like subpoenas. And again, this is by Sarah Jones. This is the Daily PoliticusUSA.com. And this article came out today. Blake is married to one of the most powerful men in Hollywood, and she's coming for the rights of female content creators with subpoenas for their bank info, context, locations, and more. Now, I can think of one content creator offhand that is a male, that being Andy Signore. I can't think of any others offhand. I can think of Lauren and Leanne and Gina, and I can think of that one that has one subscriber. I can think of a lot that are female. And it begs the question, is there a strategy to going after female content creators? Or is it just that there are more female content creators calling her on her BS? I think one thing we learn when you cover these types of stories, there is a hesitation as a guy to cover this because it's hard as a content creator to talk about a woman who may be lying about a harassment claim. It's a tough needle to thread because on one, we want to believe people. Absolutely. And I think my audience is really good at critical thinking because we can believe people and then leave space to get that evidence, right? And we'll have to see. Like right now, I believe Brigitte Macron when she says she was born a woman, but she's going to have to prove that in a defamation court, and it should be very easy. It should be a blood test, a birth certificate, and say, boom, okay, you owe me $100 million, case closed, right? A lot of political experts say she has a good shot. But if she can't prove that, that's on her, right? And then you change your opinion. So I believe Brigitte Macron because I don't see why she would lie, and I don't understand. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. It's like, who cares? My opinion doesn't matter. That's just what I think about that. When it comes to Blake Lively, I don't believe her. Early on, it seemed very salacious that she was telling the truth when you saw those selective messages. But I've been trained like a lot of people when messages are sent selectively and you don't know the full story, just to hold off. So it's almost like watching a magic trick. You go, okay, all right, okay, I'm not seeing everything here. There's a sleight of hand going on. What's in your pockets? And in the real world, when you're in court, you get to cross-examine that. You get to poke holes, stress test it, as some say. And so I think we're moving to a society where we sort of back up a little bit, where we say, okay, I understand your claim, but I don't have to rush to judgment. I don't have to feed off of this. Give me your statement. What's your opinion? Blah, blah, blah. And that's how I feel with the Candace Owens lawsuit, and that's how I feel here, which is, I don't know what the truth is, and there's a reason there's a court system for it to play out. Now, when it comes to Blake Lively, comparing her to Trump-like subpoenas, that's where it's kind of interesting because I actually disagree. I think it's very apolitical what Blake Lively's doing. It's less political and more, well, I guess I'll relate it this way. Trump is somebody who uses whatever tools he can to maintain his position of power, like a lot of powerful people do. This is apolitical. You'll see people like Nancy Pelosi, same thing. You'll see Dianne Feinstein. You'll see people that held on to power way too long because they did everything they could to maintain that power. Blake Lively is at the age where she's no longer the female lead that you would be in your 20s. I hate to say it. This isn't my ageism. This is the way Hollywood works. She's now forced to rebrand herself for the next stage of her career. And in doing a movie where A, she's coming off of having babies, B, she's supposed to be playing younger. The character was supposed to be a lot younger. And C, she's being directed by someone who she believes is of lower star power than her. You can understand how she would be coming after people to maintain this power, this diva-ness, this narcissism that exists. So with that, I agree. I don't want to spoil the article for you, though. You can go check it out there. So well done, Sarah Jones. All right, well, boy, we're just blasting through a real long episode today, but this will get you through the weekend, hopefully. Coming up next, we've got Donald Trump actually saying he could and is allowed to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell. Whether or not he does, that's another question. But I've got fantastic and interesting updates when it comes to Epstein. Now, you might wonder, Dave, excuse me, why are you so interested in this Epstein story and not the story of Ghislaine Maxwell? And it's like, I don't know how to spell this out for people other than to say, if there are a bunch of men that have not been charged with crimes that did heinous activities like sex trafficking and pedophile and this and that, if that exists, I want that transparency. I want to know how we can fix this problem right here and right now. When it comes to Brigitte Macron, she's in her 70s, married to the French president. That's for them. I don't really care. This is my priority. But I do care about the defamation lawsuit because that's interesting. All right, this story coming up next.